Hello and welcome back to another episode of Victoria 2, Heart of Darkness. We last left off, we were justifying a war against Hawaii, about to finish up a new technology, and pouring tons of influence into the Netherlands for no real reason. So, without further ado, let's get started. Hawaii is calling. And apparently every time I start, somebody's going to go bankrupt, so now it's another minor German nation. Not a real big deal. In the meantime, though, I am going to try and get some more cash from here somewhere. I'm pretty badly off at the moment, with a lot of interest starting to accrue from loans. Once this technology, and more specifically the inventions it brings, comes through, we should be doing okay, but for the moment we're a little low. There we go. I don't need that many tariffs then. I raised tariffs to try and increase revenues, but it looks like I raised it by more than is strictly necessary. As somebody pointed out, I did this whole searching for allies thing wrong, so I'm going to go back through and see if anybody's willing to be my friend. Too many great powers. US might be the one to look at. With my infamy as it is right now, though, there's not a lot of chance I'm going to get anybody that's willing to stick their neck out for me, which is okay. I don't really need the ally at the moment. Russia's no, Austria's no, and Spain's no. Alright, well, like I said, not a huge deal. Where did... that's why. I'm moving these units over to solidify my hold in Malaysia, and there's the technology. Now, what to research next? It might be worthwhile to get some army techs going, or even navy, but I think I'm going to have to stay with the earlier plan of going with market structure next. It's just a really good technology. So is business regulations, but that one takes a lot more, so I'm probably going to put that one off. Will not be researching that one immediately after. For the moment, just waiting for Hawaii to do something that I can use as a reason for war. At least that's the idea behind the general, or behind the game mechanic. Ugh, I'm tongue-tied today. I should learn not to do these in the morning. And I'm going to drop tariffs down a little bit more. It's probably hurting the economy more than it's helping me. And raise the land spending back up, so we'll have to leave tariffs at 12%. Gonna merge that unit and move the Imperial Navy, such as it is, back. And I guess I'm gonna take these units from Pyongyang and move them on over to Hawaii, or be ready, so that when the CB comes, I can declare war. Some additional pop growth, and a little bit of prestige. Not really any that's noteworthy, but every little bit helps at this point, I suppose. There we go. So I'm going to declare war on Hawaii and conquer them. Pretty straightforward. So let's get these boys moving towards their next destination. And there we go. Additional tax efficiency just popped from this invention, which is a huge boon considering how we've been kind of struggling with money recently. And there we go. Gonna drop down tariffs a little bit. Should be running, even though it says I'm running in the red, it doesn't look like I can get all of my canned food necessary. Makes my army fight a little less effectively, but against Hawaii it should not matter. Man, these ships are slow. I need to get some of the fancy pants steam-powered ships here at some point. But I suppose for the moment beggars can't be choosers, and it's doing us fine. Ah, nice. We're now number 5 in the world, probably due to the slight boost in military power that comes from being at war. Since you're spending more on upkeep, it counts that as being more, or as using more military power, at least it used to, and so that can boost your score by quite a bit. Another boost to tax efficiency, and we're back in the green. Very nice. Looking at the newspaper, Hawaii had their last revolution, and nothing else really noteworthy except that some countries apparently are getting new parties. Maybe we'll get one that'll be nice here soon. One can only hope. And here we are. Completely undefended Hawaii will soon be completely Japanese. Let's take them, boys. Especially with the hussars. They should be... well, it has a fort, so that's why the sieging is rather slow, but nonetheless. A level 2 fort. Oof, yeah. So I'm still going pretty quickly. Nice drop to attrition in hospitals again. Because of the way that there's now a minimum on attrition while sieging, the lower attrition rate isn't really a big bonus, but every person that's not dying to attrition is one that can die to enemy guns instead, so I'm going to drop tariffs down a little bit. I want to get it back down to 0 eventually. That way all of these pops will be able to buy their goods without the 9% increase. And twiddling my thumbs as we finish sieging. More Malayan history, so once again, gonna let the rich be more aware. They really aren't a big issue. Humiliate against Kiva. Where is Kiva? It's somewhere over... well, yeah, that's not helpful at all. So, I will not be humiliating them. Sorry about it. And we now have Hawaii, right on Christmas. Merry Christmas to Japan. Even though they're probably still Shinto. Survey says... yeah, a lot of Shinto. Apparently a lot of Mahayan? I don't even know what that is. But that would appear to be our main religion, so... still not Christian, that's the point. I'm going to build a naval base here so that once I get the technology, I can start colonizing from Hawaii. And no army, so I'm going to just leave one little infantry here. Well, no, I'll leave 2. I can afford to leave 6,000 men in Hawaii. I'm going to rename them to the Hawaiian Liberation Front, if it fits. And it does. So now I'll know why there's 6,000 just sitting around. Extra plurality means extra research, so hooray for that. And oof, looks like France is messing with us over in the Netherlands. Not a huge deal. Doesn't really affect us. We're just doing that to pour some extra, or so that our diplomatic influence doesn't go to waste. Nice benefit of leaving 2,000 men there is now I get to create more Korean infantry. I'm not really sure why that's a benefit, but it sounds good on paper, so looking at the newspaper, I don't think that many people are afraid of Wallachia. And somebody's starting some issues over in Cuba. I wonder if that is due to the event. No, there's no cores that the U.S. has gotten over there. So I think that's just flavor event, because this is about the time that happened. Someone asked if Romania gets cores over Moldova and Wallachia, and it would appear that yes, indeed they do. So to answer that question, if Romania, Latvia, and Moldova are all free from being satellites, well, I guess Romania is not a satellite, but if they're all free to take their own decisions, they might cause a little bit of a war over here in Eastern Europe, but again, doesn't really affect us since we're all the way over in Eastern Asia. Ooh, and we're making money hand over foot. Gonna drop tariffs some more. Let our people be able to afford the ability to actually buy things. An Imperial fleet. Should probably send these back over here before they rot out due to time at sea bonus, or the opposite of bonus, malice to attrition, which happens the longer you are at sea. Market structure just finished, so I'm going to do practical steam engine. We produce a lot of grain, so that 20% additional grain from invention will be great, plus mining and farming output, pretty big increase. After that, I'll probably go with mechanical precision, or maybe even clean coal. We do produce a lot of coal, and it might be worthwhile. But for the moment, practical steam engine is what we're going to aim at. And that money is just rolling in. Going to drop tariffs down to 0. And raise spending on naval up to 50%. Cannot afford to raise administration yet, but I might soon get there. With lower tariffs, everyone should be making a little bit more money, which means more taxes. It's kind of a balance. You will get more directly from tariffs, but in the long run, you may end up being better off just using taxes. Additional military hospitals, lower minimum life rating, so we should see if there's anything that we can colonize now, since our minimum life rating is 30 instead of 35. I don't think there is, but it's probably worth checking. Oh, wow. I don't even know how that's possible that the French already have something here. Maybe they start with it? But one would not think, since it's life rating 15, maybe there was an event that gave them additional life rating, or maybe it's a bug. Anyways, looking around, doesn't look like we can do anything. Well, unless we could somehow get over there, but I don't think we can put a ship in the Caspian Sea. So it looks like we're pretty much stuck. Unless we can colonize Canada, which we can't, then we're out of luck when it comes to life rating 30 provinces. We're making a lot more money than it says we should be, probably because we can't afford to, or there aren't enough goods available to pay for all of the maintenance. And looks like I desperately need to upgrade a few of these factories. If only I could afford to do so. At least I'm still making money even while upgrading. Ooh, I'm going to pay for the capitalists to finish the fabric factory. It would be nice to be able to get another factory building, and this is where we have a maxed out canned food factory anyways, so we need more space regardless. Looks like Kanto needs another upgrade. But other than that, we're doing pretty well. I wish they would build something in Seoul, or looks like they're trying to in Tohoku, but fertilizer factories aren't exactly the most valuable. Still, if the capitalists want to pay for it, I'll let them pay for it. There's plenty in the National Bank that they can pull from, so maybe won't take all too long. And the New Korean infantry are done. Oh, it looks like someone has insulted us. I'm gonna, rather than lose prestige, I'm just gonna accept the CB that I won't use and lowered relations. Doesn't affect us at all, so they can be as offensive as they want. We're not really gonna do anything to them. I'm not really sure even how that event pops. It may be because of low relations to start with, or it might just be random. I'm going to send this ship back over to what is essentially its home base. Oh, well, look at that. Argentina goes bankrupt. It must be the 1990s. Haha, economic jokes. They're terrible, I know. I'll leave them to the people that are a lot funnier. Yeah, France somehow got these Christmas islands. There must be... Ah, that's how. Well, those are still only 20. But maybe they... I guess since... Yeah, that would be what it is. They're already able to do 30 because of medicine, and then nationalism or state and government allows mission to civilize. So that must have become available. That's quick. I'm starting to worry that I'm going to get completely behind. Thankfully, I have until this at least 1860 or 1870 before machine guns allow colonization of all this stuff in the Pacific, so I don't have to worry quite yet. I'm going to drop administration down again. We're starting to run a little low on money, and it's not because of construction. I'm going to drop land a little bit too, so raise administration back up. After all, there's no real reason to just spend all that money if I'm not going to war. I just raised an opinion for the Netherlands to friendly, so maybe I'll get them in my sphere. It might be a nice little thing to have, or at the very least, pull them out of France's sphere so I could, at some point, beat them down. Yeah, and as you see, my military power dropped again now that I'm no longer at war. It might also drop depending on how much I spend on upkeep, but it would appear that it does not. So, never mind about that. Still have a truce for a little bit longer with Siam. Of course, we need to wait for infamy to bleed off a little before we actually take any more actions against them, but if it bleeds down to 15 or so, I will certainly try and conquer them, assuming that I can use the established protectorate now and be able to completely conquer them rather than just taking another state. If that's the case, I'll probably go for a land before I worry about taking more of Siam, just because it's the easier target. Upper house was rearranged, but not very significantly. Liberals are holding a pretty good chunk, but still a minority of the upper house. Let's check on movements. Looks like they're just slowly building up. Like I said, I'm more than happy to vote yes on it if the movement gets enough power, but I'm also okay leaving it as it is. Looks like the U.S. and Mexico are at war again. U.S. is looking to conquer, presumably, California and New Mexico, Arizona, and the rest of Texas. For the moment, just California, and USCA wants to annex El Salvador. That should be interesting. Normally, I've heard that a lot more of these little countries in Central America tend to break off, so it's impressive that the USCA has held it together so long. The USA will probably flip right from this war into the Civil War, so they might very well drop down, let us pass them in the rankings, which I would not complain about. They're not doing a very good job of industrializing, and I'm wondering why that is. It may just be low level of tech right now doesn't allow them to industrialize at the speed they'd like to, or the speed that a human player would. Or maybe something changed in Heart of Darkness that kind of weakened America, makes them take longer to get and stay at that #1 position. Some more lowered army attrition, again not super useful due to the minimum attrition on siege, but never look a gift horse in the mouth, they say. International crisis regarding Greece. I think, anyways. West Macedonia, yeah, it would be Greece. and it looks like it's the Russians versus the UK. This should be interesting. Gonna keep an eye on it. Not actually get involved. There's no reason, and I don't have a dog in this fight. But it should be interesting to see if perhaps the Ottoman Empire will be weakened and Greece will grow. Although Greece, I don't think, will ever really be much of a power. They do tend to get one or two states pretty early, from what I've been reading. Practical steam engine just finished, so I'm going to go with mechanical production. It will help our industrialization, and looking at all of those wonderful, wonderful inventions, there's more than enough reason to buy, or to invent this particular research, to focus on this particular research. Those are just what I've upgraded. This factory is slowly being built, along with more railroads popping up all over the place. At least where there aren't hills. I think it was a House Divided that added that you have to have a certain level of railroad before you're able to research, or before you're able to build them in hills and mountains and that kind of thing. Finally got dragoons. About time. I would have loved to put those in these armies, since they're better fighters than hussars, and as long as one of them is a hussar, everybody gets the same amount of recon. But c'est la vie. I can't complain too much. They're still doing their job pretty well, and hussars aren't terrible. They're just not quite as good as dragoons are. And it looks like Russia's getting all the backings here, looking to humiliate the UK. Might just drop the UK down, at least closer to France and Prussia, even if not all the way out. This should be interesting to watch, or maybe it'll turn into a massive war. If we have some money, I'm going to go ahead and finish building this fertilizer factory, just to get it rolling. And artillery should be good. Artillery's been pretty high demand lately. Man, we are making money hand over fist right now. I'm going to raise some of these, the maintenance, because anything I buy from my pops is money going to the pops, and speeds up industrialization. Also going to raise administration by another 10%. I'm very happy with where we are at monetarily at the moment. Hey, there we go. Some extra output efficiency tech. Should be making a little more money from all these factories. There we go. Look at that. Suddenly they're all in the... well, not all of them. The ones that can get their products, their inputs, are all in the green now. That is excellent. Japan is well on its way. And another newspaper. War between Denmark and Sweden. That's not going to end well for Denmark. Artillery keeps jumping up and down depending on who's at war, so I'm probably going to have to subsidize that factory, but c'est la vie. UK has South Georgia. I'm not really sure where that is, but good for them, I guess. I don't think anyone's really afraid of Modena, even if Lucas say they are. And it looks like the crisis ended in white peace. How banal. Our infamy's starting to burn off pretty well, but we did drop another place in the powers, probably because Austria gained a little bit of prestige from getting the UK to back down. We should be able to catch them again pretty soon, but I'm going to raise defense spending up to 56. Maybe speed up the building of our army, or at least the speed that pops switch over to soldiers, and thus the potential speed of building our army. And I'm going to build an army here to hold the homeland, just in case the worst happens. So 1 dragoon, which, as you can see, slightly less maneuver, slightly less recon, but greater attack. 1 hussar, 4 infantry from across Japan. 3, 4, and 2 artillery. which will probably put me into the red for a little bit, but I can take a temporary drop in finances. Let's see if there's any good inventions still happening. Plurality will be nice when and if it ever shows up. Vaccinations, some additional military hospital, additional pop growth, and of course that great 20% increase to grain. Considering it's our top produced good, that 20% will increase our income quite significantly. And China's just sitting here looking very, very tempting, but for the moment I probably need to just hold off on that one. We can still only demand concession from Siam, so rather than doing that, once I get down to 15, I'm just going to establish Protectorate and conquer the A country, which probably means that I'll need to build up another navy just to be able to move back and forth quickly. I guess I don't need to, but it's not necessarily a bad idea. I will wait and do that once I have a little more naval tech so that I can have faster ships, better ships, etc. Botanical expedition, that sounds like something I want to do. Prestige! Hooray! Liberals gain less than 1%. And the ticking clock of time marches ever forward. Old Man in the Sea. I'm just going to let them have, well, doing nothing or doing almost nothing. I guess I'll just take the fish. But the two aren't very different. Ottoman Empire is now at war with Egypt, which just had a revolution, which is probably why they were able to have that war, since they're no longer in someone's sphere. Siam's scared of us. Good. They should be. We're terrifying. I don't really have any opinion on who I want to win this war over in Egypt and, well, between Egypt and the Ottoman Empire. Doesn't affect us. We feel rather isolated over here in the Far East. At some point it might be worthwhile to free the Philippines, considering that, well, especially if Spain's currently at war. I wonder what that would cost. Ooh, that's a lot of infamy. Certainly not something we can do at the moment. Mechanical production just finished being researched, so let's see. Do we produce much iron? We produce quite a bit of iron and a lot of coal, so I am going to go ahead and research clean coal. It's a good technology. After that, probably railroad, and then move back over to some of these other techs. Maybe even get a little bit of Army and Navy out of the way. Steamers might be worth doing just for steam transports. And the additional fish production is nothing to laugh at, considering the large amount of fish that we produce. So we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Looks like we're just about at the point where we can research these level of techs in 1 year, though. So, still not great, but we will slowly catch up, considering that the speed, well, we'll at least be only one level behind. We may not catch up. There's some more plurality, which does push us over to less than 1 year per tech. We just got kicked out of the Netherlands. Not really important. I'm just doing it to burn through some diplomatic influence. Additional timber and tropical wood production. We produce quite a bit of both, and tropical wood will be very valuable eventually, if not yet. So, a very nice invention. Should raise our income. I'm going to move around these national focuses, since 19% is more than enough capitalists, while the others are still, well, there are some states without any. And I'm going to put a capitalist here. I'm just going to aim for 10% at each of these. So, if all of these are already at 10%, maybe at that point I will move capitalists back in there. But for the moment, just going to switch it over to these 3 states so that they can start building up some capitalists, increase the number of capitalists, which increases the amount of investment, which will increase our speed of growth. Additionally, I'm going to go ahead and build this furniture factory. There's plenty of money in furniture, especially when we have as much timber, lumber, and tropical wood as Japan has. Ooh, Spain goes bankrupt. tempting to fight them, but still would not be able to free the Philippines, so not really worth it. For the moment, I'll let them be. I will focus on some of the easier targets first. And Japan is a colonial province. The culture is entirely Polynesian, so it will be a while before anyone immigrates over there and we start actually getting some bureaucrats of an accepted culture. Looks like while we were not paying much attention, and certainly should have been paying attention, we could have colonized this island up here, apparently. Oh well, you live and you learn. Now Russia has it, and now we have a CB on Russia. So at least for the moment, by not colonizing that, we will avoid an unnecessary war with Russia. And we can always take it back later since we have a core. Once we're strong enough to certainly beat Russia, which at this point I would not put money on us. They have a stronger army and probably a more modern one, because even though they are fairly backwards, being Russia and being so large with low literacy, they still had about a 20 or 10 year head start on us on westernization. Additional wool and cattle production. Do we produce any of either? No wool and no cattle, so a useless invention, but at some point we may take some land that produces either, especially if we take some of China, which I imagine has at least a little bit of cattle and wool, just considering how large it is. Instead of just dumping all of this into the Netherlands, I'm going to look and see, since we're importing a lot of wool, I'm going to see which countries produce the most wool. Romania. I'm going to try and take Romania off of the hands of the Prussians, since it will be nice to have that wool and be able to get it without having to worry about someone else taking it first. So I'm going to raise influence up to the maximum there and increase relations, because lower relations slows down the speed of influence. And I dropped down Netherlands to 1 just to keep France occupied. I might as well just drop it to 0. I'm never going to get the Netherlands. It was mostly a dump, so we might just get Romania, though. I'm going to build it up to 100 and then jump up twice and then take my chances against Prussia. They might just be too busy dealing with Austria and all of these miners that they need for Germany to really worry about Romania. Oh, Denmark goes bankrupt. I knew that war against Sweden was not a good choice on their part, and it looks like I was correct. Let's see, are any of these good projects? Not particularly, but the capitalists are very intent on building this artillery factory. The Pitt's threshing machine increases fruit, grain, and tea production, of which I at least produce fruit or grain and tea, I believe. Yeah. Well, no, that's coffee. Tea. Lots and lots and lots of tea. Excellent. As well as grain. No fruit, but still a very nice invention. We're going to raise administration again. We have the money. I'm going to put it on up to 100%, because even if we're temporarily a little bit in the red, we have 30,000 in nest egg and can afford it. Newspaper, crisis averted. That was regarding Greece, I imagine. And the USA finally got the northern bit of Maine, while they are just completely overrunning Mexico. Wonder, yep, they added acquiring New Mexico, Texas, and California. So it looks like the USCA white-pieced out with El Salvador and or Mexico. Whoever was pulling the strings there, probably Mexico. Africa is still sitting unexplored. It's pretty early, so that makes sense. I would have some worries if there were already tons of people there. And another minor German country goes bankrupt. Doesn't affect us, but sucks for them. Additional timber. Excellent. Puts it securely in second place for our most produced. And it looks like the party of anarcho-liberals have just shown up on the scene, so we might certainly get one of those parties here soon. Another newspaper. Prussia and Austria are at war, presumably for, the Brothers' War. So Prussia is looking to take a little bit of Austrian land and to assert their dominance in Germany. Might just be able to allow them to become the North German Federation if they win this. So I will be watching it with mild interest anyways. Yep, there we go, the radical faction. Another Oldenburg now goes bankrupt. They cannot afford this war Prussia's forcing them to fight. Looking at the newspaper, Prussia's apparently very afraid of Austria. That's unfortunate. Oh no, the other way around. Austria's afraid of Prussia. That's why Prussia's winning. Let's look at this new party. I can't choose it anyways because it's radical, and our government does not allow anarcho-liberal to show up there. Doesn't really look that useful anyways. Full citizenship is pretty nice for the assimilation rate, but atheism would piss off a lot of the people, and laissez-faire is not a point. Our economy is not at a point where laissez-faire would work for them. Oh, New Zealand went bankrupt. What a shame that. I'd love to conquer New Zealand and Australia at some point, but I don't think it's going to happen. Especially since it would appear that Great Britain has started to colonize the rest of it without the help of, or without giving any of it to New Zealand. Looks like we could colonize it if we had large enough naval bases, which we unfortunately do not. And will not for a long time. Each additional naval base gives another 50, so we would need, we basically need the full size to be able to colonize. I think that's right anyways. Maybe it gives an extra 100. Either way, it's out of our reach for the moment. Which is a shame, but such is life. And Romania is building up nicely. And we're just waiting for everything to slowly build up. I'm going to go ahead and increase the opinion of Romania here. Looks like Prussia just won their war. And there's a crisis again relating to Greece. Like Austria versus Russia in this case. Austria is almost definitely going to back down. And clean coal just finished being researched. Looks like we're starting to, looks like our money's doing very well, so I'm gonna start on a little bit of, I'll research steamers next. The additional fish will be nice, plus being able to replace our clipper convoys or clipper transports with steam transports will be an absolute boon to our mobility. An additional, we don't have any of those except fabric, so additional fabric, and I don't believe we have any cotton production. So, we do actually have a little bit of cotton, so that's a nice little boost to that at least. Let's see what, these capitalists are just determined to build this artillery factory, so I'll help them out. In addition to building all these railroads. One can never have too many railroads, after all. Additional fabric. Always a plus. And it looks like this army here, I'm going to move it to our capital so it can just hang out there and, in case of war, be ready to respond. I'm also going to drop the taxes on the rich and middle class. Have 80, 90, and 100% as the ideal tax, with effective at 29, 26.1, and 23.2. The less that the rich are taxed, the more they can spend on investment, which turns around and means the more that everyone will make due to more industrialization. It looks like Russia's the one who gave there. Nothing really happened, so it is what it is. The crisis didn't do much, but it at least popped up with the potential of doing something. In the news, it looks like anarcho-liberals are noteworthy. Rabbit emerged from a hat. Prussians and Ottomans aren't happy. And we just got a nice invention that will add 50% to our coal production. Or at least 50% of base. That isn't 50% of what it currently is. Gonna raise our friendliness with Romania again, although it not looking good for our ability to pull them out of the Prussian sphere, at least not yet. But we'll keep on trucking, see what we can do. They very well may end up banning me here, in which case we'll switch that influence over to somewhere else. Ooh, moralism. Sure, I can let them all become moralist. That means their religion is right. Looking at the news, the crisis was set in motion. It's already stopped. Burma's at war with Siam. Good for them, I guess. It would be very good for us if we could invade Siam at the moment, but it doesn't look like it's doable. Well, I guess we could take a state. They just don't have any states that are immediately connected, but it would give us a good position to attack Luang Prabang. I don't know how to pronounce that. So once infamy bleeds off a little bit more, I may go ahead and do that, or attack Atje like was originally planned. Alright, so December 1st, 1856. Japan's still working on industrializing, still sitting at 6th in the world, but doing pretty well in a pretty good place. And that's where I'm going to stop it for today. So thank you for watching, and check back soon for more Victoria 2, Heart of Darkness.